Hey there, Colleen here, DIYer behind LemonThistle.com, and today I am excited to talk to you about one of my favorite DIY techniques. I'm going to talk to you about faux calligraphy, or, fake brush lettering. This is perfect for DIY projects. You can letter on wood, you can letter on glass, you can letter on fabric, you can letter on anything that you want to, and I do letter on anything and everything that I can get my hands on. So you can make projects like these. This is a super simple tutorial, so if you are starting from no hand lettering skills, you can still absolutely take on faux calligraphy. Now, I will link some free brush lettering practice sheets, and at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how you can use those to improve your faux calligraphy. So I've got one here that I'm going to show you how to use, and I'm also going to really quickly show you how I like to letter on wood and on glass using this technique. But we'll start with the basics first. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I would love if you did that below so you don't miss out on any more home decor, DIY, or hand lettering videos. So we have the brush pen, and I will use the Tombow Dual Brush Pen for this. You can see how I'm picking up my pen here. That's what I really want to point out in this next one. So the difference between brush lettering and normal lettering is really the thick downstrokes and thin upstrokes. And this is the same with calligraphy. When you use a nib, it's the thick downstrokes, thin upstrokes. So you're varying the pressure that you put on the pen to get these strokes. Now, when you are doing faux calligraphy, you are doing it all with a pen that is not able to do that. So for example, this bullet nib here. So you go and you take this and then you add in those thick downstrokes after the fact. And you can kind of do it on one side or you can do it on both sides. I tend to do it on both sides depending where the space is in the lettering. And then as you color that in, let's do it here. Then it starts to look a lot more like your brush lettering. Now, a few things to note. The first is that I am still lettering as if I'm hand lettering. I am not lettering as if I am doing cursive or handwriting. So let me try that. And it's been a long time since I've done cursive, so. And let me do it again here so you can see. When I go to add these downstrokes, all of a sudden here, there's not really a downstroke. And here. So it definitely works. You can just take your handwriting and you can add it, but you can see some of those shapes are not quite the same. So the thing that I encourage so much when I am teaching hand lettering is to not treat your hand lettering, or in this case, faux calligraphy, whatever, like handwriting. Treat it like you're drawing the letters. And the biggest difference here is to pick up your pen. Like pick that pen up as often as you would like. So often. The reason that we do that is to get these shapes. So you can see here, we don't take the pen here and then go up and then do that loop. We just pick it up. And that transition there is covered by the downstroke. So if you are wanting to use faux calligraphy and you do have a brush pen, you can absolutely write your hello. So this is what I call like cheaters. And this is what I did when I first started hand lettering and making printables, and I felt like my pressure variation wasn't great. I just wanted to get the look and have it look a lot better than if I was just lettering it with a brush. So then I would do my hello, but then I would switch to the brush and I would do those downstrokes. And because of that, then you get this really natural looking brush transition. Do you see how it transitions here to the smooth, thin line? So that's a great way to fake it, is switch back and forth between these two. Most of the time when you're doing faux calligraphy, it is because you don't have a brush pen available in the medium that you want. So that is that's a trick, but you don't have to do that. So I also want to show you how important it is to space out your lettering when you are doing this, or else you don't really have room to add those thick downstrokes. So first let's do a hello really nice and tight here. And when you go to add those downstrokes, I mean, the H, I did okay. It's spaced out. But it just gets a little bit tight. And especially if you want to add thicker lines, it just starts to get pretty crowded and you lose the definition between letters that you would normally have when you are lettering and writing and whichever. And you lose quite often those loops right here. It just disappears because you don't have enough space to add the loop with the thick downstroke. So if you are just starting out with faux calligraphy, what I suggest is to really space out your letters. And I know that that seems a little bit excessive, but then when we go and add in thick downstrokes, it still looks spacious. It doesn't look super crammed. So those are the basics. Let's do it on some other surfaces with some other markers. Okay, I want to show you the easiest way to find your downstroke. So after you letter your word, then kind of trace over it with your pen. You're like, okay, I'm going up, up, up. Here I turn and I come down. So then add your downstroke. Then follow it again. Oh, here I turn and I come down. And so by paying attention to that, by tracing it, then you're able to easily see where that downstroke is until you get really comfortable with recognizing a downstroke in any given letter. When I first started doing this, I didn't understand the downstroke, and I just thought that the left side of the letter, the big, long left side piece, was always the downstroke. And that works really well for most letters, but it doesn't work well for every letter. For example, in A, if you're going A, this part here is the downstroke. And if we are doing an M, a capital sans serif M, you can see this here is the downstroke and this here is the downstroke. Whereas if you're doing a script M, all of them are downstrokes. So by choosing to thicken up the downstroke instead of just the right-hand side or whatever, you're going to end up with a more natural looking faux calligraphy. Okay, first up, let's do this wood panel here. We will use a paint pen. A fun. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I have just hand lettered this. This is using a Montana marker. It's an acrylic paint pen, and it's a gray color. I really love these paint pens. And this looks just fine, looks great, but it could use some bulking up. So to get it, have that brush lettered look, we want to start adding those thick downstrokes. Now, again, to find where those downstrokes are, I can kind of trace over this and see, okay, my pen is traveling down here. This is where I will add the downstroke, and same thing here. Okay, I see it's traveling down here. I will add it there, and I will add it here. It's traveling down here, so I will add it here. And then once you understand brush lettering and once you're kind of confident with that, you don't really need to trace over it anymore. You can just look at a piece and you can know what your downstrokes are because you've done it so many times. All right, so that's on wood using a paint pen. So next example, I'm going to letter on glass here, just using a glass marker. This kind of glass marker is just from the dollar store, and it will wash off at the end of the night when you're done. If you did want it to last a little bit better, you could use a paint pen, which then you would need to scrape off with a razor. If I'm lettering signs for weddings or something like that, I would choose a paint pen. So here I have just done one line, and now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add those thickened downstrokes. I really love markers like this that you can get to look a little bit thicker on the edge. So instead of having to color in all the little lines, you can kind of just use the edge and thicken it up that way. Okay, the last thing that I want to show you in this video is how to use brush lettering practice sheets to improve your faux calligraphy, not just your brush lettering. So I have a bunch of brush lettering practice sheets on my website, on my blog. I will link those below. This one is actually from a bundle that I have paid, but there is so many free ones on my blog that you could use as well. I just already had this printed off. So you can either use tracing paper, you can use normal paper with a light box, you can just go right over it, whichever. I do have a video showing how to use brush lettering practice sheets for brush lettering on YouTube here. I will link that for you as well. But this is great because it already shows you which strokes need to be thickened up. And it gives you a few different styles. Each of my brush lettering practice sheets have 6 styles. So it gives you 6 different styles to try out and test out, which really helps you identify what you like for your own style. Okay, so then as you're doing this, you can figure out exactly where you do need to pick up your pen to get the desired look. So for example, let's do this bottom welcome here because it has lots of fun bits. So here you need to pick up and come up here. And you would figure that out pretty quickly by tracing it. And I would honestly take it off of the tracing to do this part so you can get nice, really clean. You'll notice that there is no thick downstroke here. Typically with flourishes or little things like that, you tend to add less pressure. So you won't have the thick downstroke on flourishes. Now, tracing paper and marker paper, which is what I was using before, they're super smooth. They're great for your markers, especially to practice on. There's very little chance of fraying those. But they do show kind of the dots of where you pick up and leave just because they are such a smooth paper. The marker doesn't soak in. So if you wanted this to look totally brush lettered, you'd want to use a different kind of paper. And that's why it is really effective with paint pens or glass markers. All right, so there you go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you feel like you've learned something new or improved a skill that you already had. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them below the video and I will do my best to answer. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more DIY, home decor, or hand lettering videos. We'll see you next time.